Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait for you guys to tune in. How's everyone doing? Say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time tuning in to one of my lives, definitely say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Hello, Honor Pat. Good morning, Mila from Florida. Good morning, Miss Kane. Ekara, Ada. I'm actually Evo, but Tamara, hello. NYC in the house. What's up? Hey, Queens. I used to live in Queens. Um, Good morning, Niket from Miami. Gabrielle from Florida. Derek from Maryland. A lot of Floridians today. Queen JV, Florida. French Kisser, Maryland. Sosa, NYC. Let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Aisha Chidole. YouTube. Good morning, and I'm from Los Angeles. Jamila and Joy. My name is Aisha Chidole. So I'm an immigration lawyer and I represent clients all over the United States with their immigration matter. Your location doesn't matter. We represent clients in all 50 states. Internationally, if you'd like to immigrate to the U.S., we can assist you with your immigration matter. You can always, I'm cracking up as someone speaking Igbo on here. You can call us. Our number is 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. It's scrolling through the ticker on Facebook and YouTube and on Instagram. Y'all can see me live. What's up, everybody? So you can just jump right into your questions. I don't have any topic today, so I'm just going to answer your questions. I already see a question. My hair is crazy this morning. I left my hairband at home, so I'm like a wild person today. Hi, Brown Joy. Slim Thick, right back at you, sending you back love. Your girl says, is a work permit and social security number for marriage based okay if it's taken 5 months? Absolutely. If it's taken 5 months, that's fine. Most work permits and travel permits and social security numbers generally will take anywhere from 4 to 9 months. So if it's 5 months, you're still very much in the window of when you can get an approval. So I wouldn't panic or worry. I would say that more people get it around 5.5 to 6.5 months more than any other window. So you're right there. Dokumen Blue says, good morning, my favorite attorney. Good morning. And Jamila Waite says, you're so full of passion. I see you. Love what you do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jamila. Thank you. Let me see. So this person says, good morning from the City of Angels. Can you talk about the period of abuse when filing for VAWA? I mean, before or after being in the marriage? This is a really good question. So when we're talking about abuse for VAWA, just real quick, for those of you who don't know what VAWA means, again, VAWA is when you can get a green card through an application process called VAWA. If you can show that your U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse, your U.S. citizen or green card holder parent or step parent, or your U.S. citizen child over 21 has been abusive to you, right? I mean, there are other things that you have to put into consideration, but this person is specifically asking a question of, if you're married, are they looking at abuse prior to the marriage and when after the marriage? So the good news is that it's the totality of abuse prior to the marriage and while you're in the marriage. So if it happened before, if it's happening after, they're going to look at the same for cohabitation. One of the requirements for VAWA is that you must prove that you and your partner, your spouse, lived together at some point. So while there is no exact number of months or years or weeks you must have lived together, you must show cohabitation. But the good news is that the cohabitation can either be before you got married or after you got married. So if, let's say, you guys lived together before you got married, and you got married and you've not started living together, we can use your prior living arrangement. And on YouTube says, is a psychological assessment a must to prove emotional abuse in VAWA cases? It's not a must, So when you're filing an immigration petition, all evidence that you submit to show qualifications as far as a bona fide marriage or show abuse is never a must, but they're what we call credible evidence. What that means is that if you can do it, it is helpful. Do we have many cases that we've gotten approved without one? Yeah. But always, I always say, if you can do it, do it. If you can do it, if you're not able to get a psychological evaluation when you submit your application, but you have strong evidence showing otherwise, you can submit that. You can also supplement your application, meaning you can submit your application, and then if later you decide to go to therapy, go get an evaluation, you're still suffering from what you've experienced, and you get assessed, your application can be supplemented or amended at a later time. So you submitting your application without it is not the end all be all. You can always do it later. But if the question is, are they going to deny my case, i.e., if I don't have a psychological evaluation and I'm alleged emotional abuse? No. But, for me personally, and here at our firm, one of the things that we do is when we look at the totality of someone's evidence, we would recommend certain things. Like, for instance, there'll be some people that might have absolutely nothing, and it's literally their word, right? And their personal declaration. Like, for people that way, I recommend getting an evaluation, because it's one thing for you to say, I am depressed, I'm dealing with this. It's one thing for me to put in a legal brief that, our client is suffering from depression, or whatever the case may be. But it's another thing when it comes from, an expert, a psychologist or a psychotherapist that, can really evaluate you based on the scales and say you're experiencing that. Okay. Katie says, my VAWA was approved in January, both filed. When can I expect my green card? If your VAWA was approved in January, first of all, congratulations. That's a big deal. I would say most people after 6 months, that's when we start seeing either they would schedule you for an interview or you have like an interview bypass. I don't know which one you're going to fall under, but after 6 months, so right now you're probably on like month 4, right? February, March, April, May. Of your approval. So, hopefully you hear something soon. Okay, how long does it take for my work permit to come out after my biometrics in the month of March? It's best to count from a timeline of when you first applied. Like I mentioned earlier, it can take anywhere from 4 to 9 months. So as long as you're within that window, that's fine. Rory says, if my husband has a misdemeanor, would that affect him petitioning for me? This is a good question. Typically when we ask for criminal records, we're the most concerned about the immigrant records. When a petitioner has certain criminal records that we're very concerned about is when it has anything to do or anything that falls under the Adam Walsh Act, so things related to children, child abuse, pedophilia, stuff like that. If it's that, or if that's the case, yes, definitely is something that can affect you. If I don't know what the misdemeanor is, but otherwise it's more or less you that will be concerned if you have a criminal record. Could you talk about the bill that was passed in Florida? What do you want me to talk about it? What do you want me to tell you guys about it? I generally, I'm a very, very light and bright person. I don't like to talk about bad news and things that are not good, apart from the fact that it's horrible, what is happening in Florida. We really don't know how it's going to play out. It's just so, I don't even know if the bill, if I think they signed it yesterday or something. I'm not even sure, because the bill is not law until, it's, signed and passed. One of the things that I would recommend if you're in Florida is to download what we call the red card, just because even though some of you may not qualify under the scope of undocumented, for transporting or working, you could be caught in the fire, whether it's by accident, whether it's by a raid, or whether you happen to live in like a neighborhood where a lot of immigrants live in. So one of the things that I recommend is just Google immigration red card, and download a copy of it, or maybe a few copies, and just have it. It just basically gives you your rights as far as if ICE or immigration ever knocks on your door, what your rights are, and what you can slip under the door so that they can't come in. But I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. It's unfortunate that in 2023, that's what Florida is doing. Personally, one of the reasons why my family moved out of Florida is because we just didn't like the direction Florida was going. I'm sorry to all the people in Florida here, don't come for me, but I don't like Florida personally, just because, as I said, there's just a lot there that just, it makes you question whether you're in the same country, and how one person can make such horrible decisions on immigrants, and everybody else is okay with that. But that's all I'm going to say about that. What would you advise if you received a work permit without travel document and both were filed? I received this barely 6 weeks after putting in my paper. I have an emergency travel. So if you have an emergency travel, you can request info pass, and fill out another travel application there, but you got to show them the evidence of whatever is causing your emergency, and then they'll give it to you. For a lot of people earlier last year, I don't even know if they're still doing it this year. I'll have to, I haven't been paying close attention if they're still doing it in the last few months, but earlier last year, because there was such a backlog with work permits, they were separating work permit approvals from travel permit approvals, just so that people could at least have their work permit, and then they'll get their travel permit later in like a paper form with your picture on it. So that's probably what you're going to get. Now we're not seeing as much of a backlog with the work permits, where, as I said, we're seeing most of the window from 4 to 9 months. So info pass though would be the way to try and get an emergency travel permit. Reaction says, what documents can one submit for an early marriage, even though we did court for almost 4 years? Well, congratulations, first of all, on your marriage. And this is a really good question. People ask me this all the time when they come to consults. We don't have bank statements. We don't have this. We don't have that. If you just got married and you don't really have a lot, think about everything that you have. Well, prior to you guys, getting married, i.e., most people when they're dating, they go to, someone says, we don't like it either. I'm assuming you're talking about Florida. So, like, of course, you're going to have pictures. You tend to go out on date nights more. You tend to hang out more. You have pictures. You tend to talk on the phone more. Get call logs, call histories. If you're calling your spouse prior to marriage, like on WhatsApp all the time, or you're chatting all the time at work, get your chat history, get all of that stuff. If you have friends and family that have hung out with you, that know your relationship is real, they can write affidavits to support your relationship. Things that are very easy to get, like merge your phone bills. You guys could have the same phone bill. Even if you open a bank account, you might not have a statement yet, but you can do phone bill. I'm just trying to think what else. If there are kids there, or any of you guys have kids, you can always be in each other's children's emergency contacts at school. If one person is working and they have an employer that offers insurance, you can definitely go on insurance. When you get married, you have like a 30-day qualifying life event that allows you to adjust your insurance, so you can add your spouse, and so all of that can be done within 30 days of marriage. And then when you submit your application, as I always say, is until they make a decision in your case, your application is like a moving application, meaning you continue to acquire things organically like any other normal married couple, so that if they do schedule you for an interview, you can have those additional documents to take. And if they don't schedule you for an interview, speaking of that, I want to talk about that because, we're seeing a lot of people that are getting bypassed, and I want to talk about that real quick. But if they don't schedule you for an interview, you really want to still keep your evidence, because more than likely you're going to get approved before the 2-year mark. So, and just in segueing on this, I really want to talk to a lot of the people who are getting green cards approved where your interview is bypassed. So first of all, it's a wonderful thing that these interviews are being bypassed and you're getting a 2-year your green card, because a lot of people, that I would say 70% of people that fail on their green card application fail at the interview. A word of warning, and one of the things that we've noticed that a lot of our clients that do get an interview bypass, meaning they don't get a marriage interview and get approved for their green card, end up getting 2-year green cards. Not all, but a lot of them do. What happens is, we've had a client where their anniversary was on, like April 20th to be a 2-year marriage, and they got approved on April 14th, 6 days before their 2-year anniversary. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, great, I've got my green card. But people don't understand that even though you have a 2-year green card, in 2 years time you have to file removal of conditions, and removal of conditions is the same requirement as when you're filing a marriage-based case. So the expectation is the same, if not higher, because at this point they expect you to have your social security number, you have your green card, so there's no reason why you should not have more evidence to prove that your relationship is real. So if you are one of those people that are on the slippery slope, of your marriages, or we might get a divorce, we may not get a divorce, but they waived your interview and you got a 2-year green card, remember, the journey is not over. They can still terminate that 2-year green card at the 2-year mark, and you can also be referred for deportation if they terminate it. So you want to make sure that even though you've gotten that 2-year green card, that you continue to accumulate proof that your relationship is a legitimate relationship, proof that your relationship is bona fide, whether or not you guys stay married or not. But just make sure you continue to accumulate evidence to support a removal of condition, because 2 years from now, you're going to be dealing with that. Okay. All right. Let me see what else here. Can my U.S. citizen baby father file for me after having 2 kids for him? Well, he can file for you if you're married. So he can't file for you just because you have children for him. But if you're married, yeah, he can file for you. I lost my passport. I need to change my status. I came here in the 90s. Is there a way I can find in the system to show I came in legally? Yeah, you can request that from USCIS Customs and Border for your I-94 to get it for you. Or if you are eligible to adjust your status, you can apply for adjustment of status while requesting that 102 at the same time, if you know for a fact that you entered into the country with inspection. If you dated for 3 weeks and then married, can you qualify for VAWA? So time of marriage is not what determines if you qualify for VAWA Realist West. What determines if you qualify for VAWA is if you meet the requirements of VAWA, which is more than just how, when you got married. It means that you have a legitimate marriage, meaning a real marriage, not a marriage for immigration. It means that you have proof that you and your spouse live together. You have proof that you have good moral character. You have proof that your spouse was abusive to you. So those are the things altogether that can qualify you for VAWA, not just when you're married. I got approved. Did my work permit temperature of a doc? I don't understand what that question is. Is it true they are now waiving interviews for people? Oh, I guess you didn't hear, or maybe you typed this before I said that. Yes, there are very many people they're waiving interviews for. Not everyone, but we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. I filed my work permit 11 months ago. I did receive an RFE that you guys filed and submitted for me 7 months ago. I didn't receive a permit yet. Do you think I should be worried? Well, I don't know who you are, Rog, and what we filed for you. So it depends on what your RFE was. So you can definitely call the office and so that we know who you are, and then we can tell you the answer. But typically, if you get an RFE and your RFE has to do with your I-864, which is your financial affidavit of support, those usually will cause a delay in your work permit. Okay. Okay. So you mean no interview, even if you haven't submitted your pictures and other documents. Busala me. So let me just make sure that I'm very clear with you guys. I did not, or I am not saying that automatically if you apply for marriage-based case, you're not going to get an interview, because that is not an accurate statement. But what I am saying is that there are some people that USCIS is choosing to waive their interview. It doesn't mean they will waive your interview. It just depends on the officer, or what your immigration history is, what you present. So I cannot say who gets waived or who doesn't waive, but it is not everybody that's getting waived. Some people are getting waived. Um, okay. Um, If a person files for VAWA and receives a prima facie and is called for biometrics, what happens after that? After that, you basically just have to wait for them to make a decision on your case, or to request send you an RFE, which is a request for evidence. Also, if you filed for a work permit and a travel permit in the right category, you should get that before they make a decision on your case. I made a mistake with applying for a C31 EAD for VAWA. I realized the mistake and then applied for C9 in January. Till now, I haven't gotten a receipt notice. Will I get a notice, or will I just get an EAD? You should get a receipt notice to make sure that your stuff was actually submitted to the right location. January, we're in May. I would be concerned because that's a long time. I don't know where you sent your application to, but it's definitely one to do an inquiry as to where your receipt is, because that's a long time. That would be about 4 months. There is, though, documented delay right now in receiving clients with VAWA, but that's a long time. Joy Maheda says, which month VAWA they work now? I'm not sure I understand the question. VAWA does not go based on a family preference category, if that's what you're asking. Family preference category is basically where you go based on the visa bulletin of what is worked on. But if you want to know or get an idea of the estimate of the processing time, if that's what you're asking, you can just go online to USCIS, under processing time, and you should be able to see it. Okay, let's see. I've been a student on an F1 in US since 2015. Can I apply for citizenship? So having an F1 does not make you eligible for citizenship. In order for you to be eligible for citizenship, if you are on a visa or you're here as a student, you have to have a green card. So you have to have a green card through marriage, or i.e. through abuse, that where you have a green card for 3 years and then you can then file for citizenship. Or if you're divorced or you get your green card through another method, then 5 years. But with an F1, you're not eligible for citizenship. Your first try should be to find a ground that makes you eligible for a green card, and then from the green card, you can get citizenship. Kiara says, why is VAWA saying 33.5 months in USCIS.gov? Like, that's insane. Actually, it's not, because really, if you think about it, most VAWA cases take 2.5 years, which is 30 months. So, I mean, I guess if you say 30 months, it sounds much longer than saying 2.5 years. But that is why it's important that if you're filing for VAWA and you qualify for a work permit and a travel permit, you should apply for one and get that 2-year work permit and travel permit so that you can have that while you're waiting for them to make a decision on your case. Because, you know, if VAWA is approved and you get a green card, that's what it does as well. It gives you the ability to work and travel, just like that work and travel permit. So at least while you're waiting, you have something to hold off on. I filed a marriage application and asylum at the same time. Will that be an issue? Well, technically, you can file for both at the same time, depending on if you have a legitimate asylum claim. If you get your marriage application approved, then you can withdraw your asylum. If you don't have a legitimate asylum claim, or the court doesn't, or USCIS doesn't feel you have one, they can refer you to an immigration judge for deportation hearing. So if marriage comes first, definitely withdraw the asylum petition. If your spouse withdrew the I-130 but is still willing to continue with the process, what's the way forward? You have to refile again, Kemar PR. But let me just say something. If your spouse is withdrawing the I-130, that is a pretty big indication that you might be in an abusive marriage. I don't know your marriage. I don't know in terms of conflict resolution of whatever it is, but it is a telltale sign when a spouse who is meant to love someone and protect somebody withdraws an I-130 petition. When you think about the extreme consequences that can come with that, including separating you from your spouse, your family, deportation, being put in ICE facility, being locked up, having to bond, like there's just so many ripple down effects of things that can happen. You know, loss of livelihood, loss of the ability to work. So to me, any spouse, you know, and the reason why I can say that with authority is because, listen, I've been married for 13 years, you know, and is marriage perfect for anybody? No, but there is absolutely nothing that would make me ever do such a thing to my spouse, no matter what. So, you know, any spouse that's willing to do that, I would bet that if we screened you, we're going to find some other abusive behaviors. Because to me, if somebody withdraws your I-130, it is screaming control. That this person is trying to control you or to force you to submit to their will under the threat of your immigration status. So, yeah. I'm going to take one more question and then I got to jump off. Please, what's the interview for N400 based on VAWA like? So there's no N400 based on VAWA. So N400 is for citizenship. If you're asking me what is the interview for the I-485 based on VAWA is like, the interview is pretty straightforward. In order for you to have an interview for your VAWA case, you have for your green card based on VAWA, you have to have an approved VAWA, meaning your VAWA must be approved before they schedule you for an interview. And the interview is literally just going through your I-485. That's it. You know, they don't really get into your abuse, what happened, because they've already approved you for those things. So they're going through that. They're looking at your marital history. They're looking at if there are any new criminal records, you know, any new information that you need to update on there, any information that you need to retract from there. So that's really what they're looking at. All right, guys, I got to jump off, but it was nice chatting with you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.